This is garden tour on September 2nd, 2023. Overall, things are doing fairly well. A few disappointments, but still getting a lot of food. Enjoying the flowers and the insects. This tomato is called Margaret Curtin. I don't think I have any ripe ones yet. I like that one. It's one of my favorites this year. I was trying to grow kale here. I started it later than normal, and my seeds mostly didn't germinate. One germinated and it didn't do anything. I already took down some of the pickling cucumbers. I left the lemon cucumbers because at the time it was covered in flowers and the bumblebees were enjoying it, but I don't like raw cucumbers. We still have pickling cucumbers in the fridge, and my husband didn't care for the flavor of these as much as the others, so I'll be taking that plant down soon. Beans are pretty much done. I picked a whole bunch last night, so can't see much right now. Eggplant's not doing so good this year. I keep pulling off leaves that look like it's getting septoria leaf spot from my other plants. So I'm going to pull those plants today or tomorrow probably. This plant is called Santa Maria. It's not a very well-known tomato plant. I had one from it so far. It was the first one to ripen. It was really good, and I'm still waiting for the rest. These are different flowers. I guess I need to rearrange some stuff because there's not much flowering right now, except for the blue salvia. I had onions here that I had to pull all of them before they were even ready because I had allium leaf miner in there, so now I'm solarizing it. Nasturtiums I'm selecting for this color, this orange. It's Alaska mix, which has variegated leaves, but each year I just collect the seeds. You can see there's a bunch of seeds in here. I collect the seeds from the orange instead of the apricot or the mahogany or the other colors that can produce. I like the orange better. We'll look at the tomatoes when I go back there. French sage, triple curled parsley, savory, which I didn't get harvested in time to dry the leaves, so it's flowering now. I like to leave it flower and drop seeds because this plant was a seedling from last year that self-sowed, and which was a seedling from the year before that self-sowed, so I just leave it flower and self-seed. This is where I grew garlic, and I'm solarizing that. This is more a nasturtium that started from a different seed source, but it's still the same variety, Alaska mix. We'll get to the tomatoes when I walk back there. This is dwarf Greek basil. I didn't get it harvested this year, but I'm leaving the flowers for seeds and for the insects. And this is a Piccolino. I really like the small globe type basils for their smaller size and their smaller leaves. That's my preference. I don't care for the big leaved, tall, gangly plants. And chives, which I'm going to pull this year. That's where the onions were, same as the other bed. This flower bed's doing pretty well. Nice variety. Butterflies back there. This is another bed with eggplant. I did harvest some eggplants from both beds, but they're not doing well. I cut off a bunch of leaves the other day, and I'm going to pull those plants. This plant is a tomato variety that somebody I know from a tomato farm has been growing and selecting for years. He keeps trying to select for bigger and bigger tomatoes. It's a paste tomato. So that's pretty nice. He calls it Shannon's, named it after his daughter. So they're pretty good. I've only had a few so far, but they should be producing more soon. This is a pole bean variety. First year I've grown it, called Wyatt. I guess it's an heirloom. I've heard good things about it, but I should be able to harvest these. Oh, maybe tomorrow. Give them a little bit longer to get bigger. I have 3 different kinds of pole beans here. They did really good this year. I harvested them late last night, so there's not a lot on there right now. But they did good. This tomato variety is called Goose Creek. Let's look at the other side. Some flowers here. Goose Creek. Well, I guess there is one back there. Ripe. This was actually brought from a woman who was forced into slavery years ago. In the area that she was brought to the U.S., there was a area called Goose Creek, so she named it after that, and had been growing it and selecting and then handing it down through the family, and now her great-grandson or 2 times great-grandson, I can't remember which it was, still grows it. He sells plants, so it's really hard to find the seeds. He's out west somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, I think California now. So it's really hard to find the seeds, but I was lucky to find the seeds in a tomato farm. There's some more kale. I planted it late. Normally I plant it earlier than most people, but I planted it late this year. This is, I think it was called Japanese parsley. I didn't get to harvest any. I left it to collect the seeds, but I think I'm a little bit late for collecting the seed. I think some of them dropped. More flowers to attract the bees and butterflies. This messy bed here is all natives. They kind of went crazy. These are wild strawberries, native, that I found on our wooded property, and I transplanted a few plants in here, and they went crazy sending out runners this year. All that rich soil, so if anybody wants some runners, I'd be happy to share them. It's a Virginia strawberry. We have different native strawberries in Pennsylvania. This one's Virginia strawberry. Those are pots of stuff. I haven't been filling up to weeding, so there's pots buried beneath all that. These are just different flowers. I got this off of somebody from the homesteading group. Thank you very much, Susan. Appreciate it. And what's the other one? I think it was this iris was from you too, so thank you, Susan. More flowers. This is Calendula resina, which I've been harvesting petals, flower petals from, to dry to make salve. The great blue lobelia is doing really well. Bumblebees really love it. And we're back to the Margaret Curtin tomato again. Alyssum, I love growing alyssum in with my flower bed, or in with my veggie beds. I have 4 different kinds of frying peppers here. And when I did pepper comparing last year, Carmen was one of my favorites. It's our hybrid. So I'm growing 2 of those and some other kinds to compare. And then these are other varieties. I'm trying to find a small fruited pepper. This one's called Frank's. This one's called Nick's Thin Skin. The plant stayed, well, put a shadow on there. The plants, last year when I grew this, it stayed really small too, and I thought it was a fluke, but maybe that's the way that variety is supposed to be. Same with this one. I don't know. Gypsy, it's one of my favorites from previous years. I'm growing it again, although this year the fruits look larger than they have been in past years. And this one's called Early Red. Plant's much smaller than it was last year. Looks like it needs some water. I really love this. This is the first year I've grown this. It's called Lemon Gem. It's a marigold. Tagetes, I think is the genus name. Tagetes. I've grown a lemon something before at my old house that I liked. I can't remember exactly which one. But I really like this. It smells really good. You can't smell it, but when you touch it, oh, it smells so good. It doesn't smell like that stinky marigold that I can't stand. It's hard to describe. Sort of lemony, but not really. But I like that a lot. It's supposed to, I think it's supposed to repel some insects and attract beneficial insects, if I recall. Let's see. A little raccoon planter. Now this, I'm having something going on with the tomatoes this year I don't recall ever seeing before. Dried leaves. This one is Goose Creek Black. The person I got the seed from said it was supposed to be a variation of the Goose Creek plant over there, the red one. But I don't believe it is. I think somebody got their seeds mixed up. It's a black or mahogany variety. This one is chocolate beefsteak. This is not a commercial variety. Somebody bought, it was like 100 heirloom seeds for a certain price off of eBay or Etsy or something like that, and then he shared some seedlings with a friend, and the friend grew it and got this black, I think I picked them all, can't see any ripe ones right now, but this black fruited variety, and they loved it. They couldn't identify it, what heirloom it was. They asked in the different tomato groups if anybody recognized it, and they haven't been able to narrow it down, so they just call it chocolate beefsteak. Don't know what it really is, or was. These are two dwarf plants. You see they're not as tall as the other tomato plants. They're specifically bred to be about half the size as the parent plants. Tasmanian chocolate and Baronia. These two plants, one of the parents is Paul Robeson. This is Paul Robeson that I grew to compare. I actually like the flavor of the Paul Robesons better, but they're still good, but I like the Paul Robeson flavor better. Lettuce that I'm letting go to seed. DB Cooper, I guess there are some fruit in there. I picked a bunch the other day, so aren't many right now. And these, I have these in 3 of the beds. My plan was to water in these beds, or water in the totes to keep the soil and potential disease spores from splashing. But it's been so wet this year that I haven't. I've only used them a few times, but that was the intent of having them there. So let's see. Let's go back here. Oh yeah. Some more bush beans back here. This one's Strike. Picked some of those yesterday. This one's Provider. I picked some of those yesterday. And the deer were eating them early on, so I put the wheelbarrow in the pool and some grate there. And every once in a while I move these around and reposition them because deer don't like new things in their environment. It makes them more cautious. So far they've been leaving it alone. That's the Santa Maria again. And you can see one ripening up down there. It's a paste tomato. Nice size. My goal for paste tomatoes are larger paste tomatoes, so it's less motion of the arms to have to pick them and to cut off the ends, because I get, well, moving my arms around weakens me a lot. It's a health issue, so I just try to find larger fruited plants to try to minimize how much movement I have to do. This is a variety called what is it, Blue Beach? Beach Blue? Blue Beach. Paste tomato. Ouch, something's biting my leg. Okay, another variety called Rocky. Not a very well known one, but you can find seeds commercially. I have problems with Septoria leaf spot. I see I have to pull some more leaves. But I like how big they are. Look at that. That's a double fruited fruit there. But this is about typical size for it. And this one's called Cow's Tit. This one's really sweet in flavor. Not quite ready yet. And this is another Rocky. Look at that one. That's a double or a triple fruit. Really good. I grew those last year out in our field where the soil's not so good, and actually all 3, the Rocky, the Cow's Tit, and the Blue Beach, and I liked them all, so I'm comparing them in better soil this year. Lots of butterflies on the what is this called? tall verbena. So that's my garden this year. Like I said, had some disappointments. Had some great harvests. The beans were pumping them out. I have a whole bunch in the freezer or in the fridge. I have a lot of cucumbers. I had pickling cucumbers on this side of the trellis. Lots of dill, cilantro. I harvested a lot of the French tarragon, dried that, got a quart jar of it. Lettuce, spinach. But this is what it looks like now. Thanks for touring my garden with me.